What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Life Stance Podcast. I'm your host, Trey Kulata. As always, thanks for joining me. I've got some really good information that I'm going to share with you today because today we are diving into why most of you are not going to hit those resolutions and goals that you set for 2025. I am so sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it's just the cold, hard facts that by this time next week, 80% of the population has already said, I can't do it, I give up, I don't have it in me, I'll try again next year or later on at some unidentified date. But rejoice, friends, because by the end of this podcast, you are going to know exactly how to turn the ship around and keep yourself on track so that you can come to the end of the year and be like, holy shit, look at all the things I accomplished. I stuck to these goals for the first time ever and, resolved and did the damn thing. So again, listen to the end. We've got lots to cover. So the number one reason, I'm going to dive right in, as to why most people are going to be giving up by the 21st of the month in terms of their resolutions and their goals is because they're biting off more than they can chew. You are biting off more than you can chew. You are setting the goal too high for where you are currently at. I will use the tale as old as time example of weight loss because this is a big one that everybody wants to achieve going into the new year. You set the goal, let's say at 20 pounds, okay? But then you don't really set like these little manageable chunks of how you're going to get there. You can't just say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and then I'm going to start eating healthier and I'm going to start going to the gym 5 times a week. That's unrealistic, okay? You have to set a goal that is realistic for you and where you are at. I will share with you a real life example of how I started my fitness journey back when I was in college in the early aughts, if you can believe it. God, it seems like forever ago, but just yesterday. Anyway, so I obviously, you go to college and you gain that freshman 15. Lots of beer drinking, lots of late night snacking on ramen noodles and macaroni and cheese. Did not do any favors for my waistline. And I never really paid much mind to it until I met my now lifelong best friend, Scarlett. And she was for all intents and purposes, the quote unquote hot one. She was the hot one. Everybody wanted, to hook up with Scarlett. And I was the number 2. I don't know how many of you out there are familiar with Three's Company, but she was Chrissy and I was Janet. So anyway, because of the fact that everybody always paid all this attention to her and not so much to me, I was like, okay, what can I do? I'm obviously overweight. You need to start exercising. You need to start doing something about it. So, but rather than be I'm going to hit the gym an hour every day and restrict my calories and do all this, I started off literally, I said, I'm going to run around my block 3 times a week, but one lap, just one lap around the block, because I knew it would only take me approximately 10 minutes. I guess either it was a big block or I was really slow. But that's it. That's where I started. I literally started out with 10 minutes a day, 3 times a week, because that was something that I knew I could achieve. And I also knew from previous experience, this is a saying that always stuck with me because I used to smoke back when I was in high school. And I had a girlfriend of mine who was she gave me this sticker, I remember, and it was something about quitting smoking because she really wanted me to quit. And she said it takes 21 days to form or break a habit. So I said to myself, fast forwarding again back to college and starting my exercise journey. Okay, well, if I can do 3 times a week, 10 minutes a day for 3 times a week for 21 days, then I will have formed a habit. And then after that 3 weeks, I'll see if I can bump it up a little. Maybe I'll do 15. Maybe I'll do 2 laps 3 times a week. And so I did. After 3 weeks, I had instilled the habit. I guess the science now says it's something like 66 days, but I'm still going to stick with 3 weeks. I think if you can get past this kind of 3-week hump where most people give up, you're already ahead of the game. So commit to 21 days. And then increase a little bit. So instead of saying, I'm going to hit the gym, every day for an hour, I'm going to run around my block a few times, or I'm going to just go for a walk, a good solid 20-minute walk 3 times a week. Because if you don't make it manageable, it's easy to get defeated when you end up skipping. Because if you, okay, so I didn't go 5 times. Okay, the first week goes great. Second week, you miss a day and you're like, shit, that's it. I don't have the discipline. I don't have the consistency. I give up. And that's 99.9% of people. So I'm here to tell you it's a really easy fix. Break it down into a more manageable chunk. I did the same thing with I just talked about the 20-20-20 rule. I used to have this hard and fast thing where it was like 10 pages of a book a day. Got to be 10 pages of a book every day. And then I was like, you know what? As long as I read, who fucking cares? Like, even if it's just 3 pages, as long as if it takes me, 10 or 20 minutes just to absorb the information in 3 pages versus 10, I'm going to call that a win. You also have to allow yourself some grace and some flexibility, but start small. Start small, okay? And you also have to break it up into manageable time chunks. So like I said, if you're going into it and you're not setting yourself up to where it's like, okay, 3 weeks from now, I want to be here. Another 3 or next quarter, by the end of the first quarter, I want to, instead of saying 20 pounds this year, how about I'm going to lose 5 pounds every quarter so that by the end of the year, I will have hit 20 pounds. And then that by default gets you into the third thing that trips people up is not going back and measuring where they are against where they want to be. I made this mistake last year. I literally wrote all these goals on the blackboard behind me because every year me and my husband go out. We have an annual New Year's dinner where we sit down and we talk about the different goals that we have for the different areas of our life. Health and fitness, family, social, financial, career. And I write them all down on this blackboard that you see behind me if you're watching me on YouTube. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't put any time limits on it or like, hey, by this time. And then on top of that, I didn't come back and look at it. So I forgot half of the goals that I set and they just moved to the back. They shuffled to the back of my mental Rolodex and just I honestly, if I'm being real, I think I might have hit 1 or 2 of my goals from last year. And I think I had like 5 or 6, which again, maybe I was biting off more than I can chew. Practice what you preach, girl. Stick to 3 main targets and that's it. It's like, why do I have to, every single portion of my life has to have a goal? It can be a little overwhelming. But if I'm not setting a time frame for myself to come back and say, hey, did I hit this target on the way to hitting my ultimate goal? You don't know if you need to adjust. Because if you're ahead of the game, okay, let's say you lose 6 pounds in the first quarter. Awesome. What am I doing right that I can continue to do and capitalize on and maybe even tweak a little bit to where I'm doing a little bit more? Or am I behind the goal? If I'm behind, what am I not doing? What do I need to adjust so that I can make up for that lost time and get back on track? Because if you're not taking stock and first of all celebrating those wins, you're going to get exhausted, you're going to get tired, and you're going to lose the excitement. If you don't celebrate the wins and the gains, I would encourage you to go back and listen to the Gap in the Game podcast if you haven't already. If you're not celebrating those gains, the excitement gets lost, and so does your sights on the target. And here we are back at square one again. So make sure you are celebrating those gains. But when do you celebrate them? Exactly, you have to set the timeline. And the fourth thing, I will preach this until I am in the dirt, consistency, which is why setting a manageable target is the most important thing, because it will help you become consistent. And when you can prove to yourself that you can be consistent, you gain the confidence, you gain pride, and you gain that intrinsic faith in yourself that you can do it. So consistency is key. If you don't break it up into manageable chunks, you're not going to be able to be consistent. Plain and simple. So let's review. How are we going to turn this around? Because I know some of you are already like, fuck it. But I'm here to tell you, unfuck it. Unfuck yourself. I think there's a book called that, but whatever. So, number one, if you want to make sure, this is the biggest one. Number one, break it up into manageable chunks based on where you are at. Not where your neighbor's at, not where your best friend is at, not where your brother or sister is at, where you are at. Okay? Manageable chunks. Put a time limit on it. And come back and celebrate those gains. Okay? Or adjust if there was a gap. Sometimes it sucks to look ourselves in the mirror and be like, I could be doing better. But if you're not setting intervals where you consistently come back and check in with yourself, again, it's gonna fall by the wayside, and you're gonna regret it by the end of the year, and you're gonna be circling back again. We don't want that. We're not here for that. We're thriving in 2025. Okay? And fourth, consistency, baby. Consistency is like that foundation. It's the foundational rule for everything I'm going to talk about in this podcast. So get used to it. You're going to hear me say that word a lot. All right? So that's it, guys. I hope this episode gave you some tips and some tricks to turn those resolutions into achievements, and that you are now equipped with the tools that you need to make shit happen in 2025. And if you think somebody else could get something out of this because you got something out of it and you're so excited to share it, please do. Because when we raise the vibration and the frequency of the collective, we all benefit. Because your successes inspire success in others. That's another fact that we need to embrace. Your success inspires success in others. So let's go out there and rock 2025, guys. Until next time, let's dance.